What's up? What's up? New changes, new adjustments, same style, but more up to date flair. For those of you who have not been keeping up, the Blige podcast is no longer in service. We have been upgraded to the Past podcast, which is PASS, not PAST. It's going to be a podcast talking about sports and stuff. So that's where the Past concept comes from. I probably have not passed this to my co-host that's joining me as usual, Dimitri. But I wanted to go ahead and let him know what was going on.
Yeah, back at it again.
So he's kind of in between, and I'll go ahead and let y'all know because y'all know me. I'm going to be honest. He's tuning in because we both Kentucky heads. When I got here, we kind of prepped a little bit, and he was like, yeah, I'm sitting here. And I was like, wait, what's the score? So he's tuning in to the Kentucky-Alabama game. And they've right now, I think it's Kentucky still ahead right now.
That's tie game, 40-40.
Okay, so yeah, so we'll kind of be having our little cheers and outbursts in between with that, but got a pretty packed lineup of sports and ran unique stories this week. I've decided, and I talked with Dimitri about this, and I'm upset. I'll apologize in advance because I could have done this last week. We did Stevie Wonder last week, but since this is National Women's Month or International Women's Month, I'm going to do different women artists for the remainder of the month.
We want to show our appreciation to the women out there.
To the ladies, yes. To the ladies. Never forget the ladies. So with that being said, I have the image. I'm going to be having that prepped and set up once we get everything going. The artist this week is a hip-hop R&B music knowledge.
You can say queen of hip hop and soul.
Queen of hip hop. Yep, that's the perfect way to describe it. She's literally been. I mean, I've always known it as MJB. Many of y'all know as Mary J. Blige. Let's see, I'm showing age because I was 10 when she first got started. So her first, her main, one of her biggest albums that was known was What's the 411. MJB, like I said, in other words, Mary J. Blige, from New York. She had a lot of artists that gave her a lot of motivation. She worked along with artists, similar to Shaka Khan, Aretha Franklin. She had a major mark in music back in the 90s.
Definitely, she has 9 Grammy Awards. And she was nominated for a record of 30 Grammy Awards, which is great. She had plenty of different styles, too.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. Like, she would be able to, rap a little bit with a little bit of R&B in there, too.
Yep.
For example, like Thick of It.
Yep.
Nice songs. I Am.
Okay. Yeah, she, I'm going to tell you, like, I was coming up, me growing up, this was music for me. This was my, like, hip-hop and R&B stage. So this is where I be pop for, like, a millisecond. She had a very rough relationship with Casey, who was one of the members of Casey and JoJo. I think that relationship, as well as working with producers such as Puff Daddy or P. Diddy, however you want to call him, Puffy, he kind of was able to get her in, like when she had the rough points to hit with music. When she had the rough points, he would come in and kind of like, hey, here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to work it out. I always can think about just a lot of good music for her that I've just listened to and been a fan of. She's kind of been on a somewhat musical hiatus. She's looking to preview an album, Strength of a Woman. It's possible that could be released by the end of the year. You know how that goes. Music is always unexpected. Like you mentioned, the song she did, Thick of It, is her most recent single that came out. You got any other throws you want to put in about Mary that you can recall from like the brief stint of knowing her music?
She also had Mr. Wrong with Drake also.
Yes.
She had One Love with U2.
Yeah.
So she had many different songs with different styles as well inside of those songs,
Yeah, that was a diverse style for her too, because especially with doing U2, it was a different thing. I mean, that was a different term because a lot of artists kind of like, well, I'm going to work with hip hop artists, I'm going to work with R&B artists. In her case, she was willing to say, hey, I'll work with whoever, especially if it's going to produce or equal to making good music. 25/8 was a known song too. That was a more recent track she did. Be Without You was on her album. Now, the album for me, I think that always causes the problems is, and we'll go into this and then we'll jump into the next one. 2006, she did a release of Reflections or Retrospective, and it had the single, which was on the album, The Breakthrough, which was Be Without You. That song alone
Great song.
had a lot of meaning to it back in at that time. And then she also did a song on there known that I always, anybody you hear, if you talk to them about Mary J. Blige, they know about the song Take Me As I Am. Because that was just kind of one of those, you accept me for who I am, and if you like it, here I am, and if you don't, then oh well. So that's kind of like the overall hit or miss with Mary J. and just me, where I wanted to kind of present her story as what she's done to impact hip hop and as well as the R&B musical community. So as always, I give y'all a little bit of a musical dose. I give you the musical dosage and I give you the gaming dosage. So this gaming dosage is a little different because it's not just regular gaming. It's gaming, it's sports, it's tech talk. It's me not being old, but also being chill because it's me targeting the millennials. And oddly enough, it's about the new arena that opened in Las Vegas a while back, known as the Millennial eSports arena. And I know you personally have been there, but I have yet to go to Las Vegas. So, yeah, I know you have a little bit of experience, but did you know or have you seen? I'll ask you this first. Would you expect that they would have made an eSports arena in Las Vegas?
Well, Las Vegas is known for, taking as much money, like revenue they can get. So they're just opening up like a new brand to like get more revenue there. So yeah, I could see that happening. Just like they're trying to get like a new, like a football team there. They're trying to, open up, get revenue different different ways, you could say.
True. Okay. So I mentioned to Dimitri because I wanted to be like, okay, I just threw this out here as a story, and it's like, all right, it's just about gaming and why is it so important. This past Sunday, this past weekend actually, Halo 5 had the first event at this venue, the Millennial eSports arena, and it was for Halo World Championship. It was their qualifier arena. So, I mean, it's a pretty sizable venue. It's 200-seat arena. It's in the Neonopolis Entertainment Complex in downtown Vegas. It has quite a view. The main hit for it, they're looking to use it as much as possible. As a matter of fact, I'm not sure if the tournament has already happened or it's coming up soon. They're looking to have a Madden 17 tournament there. And anyone who knows the game, we talk about sport talk all the time, just off gaming, non-gaming, but in gaming wise, Madden needs all the push they can get.
It says later in March. They'll have that event later in March.
Yeah, so that's gonna be a huge one to throw in there too. But I think if they get more venues or more events there, and matter of fact, here's why I really want to get this topic out, and I'll make it clear so y'all understand why I'm looking at it like this. It's good for revenue as far as, okay, you got a new arena, you got folks who can come in young and new, but also Las Vegas is known for gambling, and so if you look at it, even though it's a fantasy, even though it's considered to be a non-sporting event, but it's esports, there's a lot of opportunity where you could have members or individuals who know about those gaming events could actually possibly gamble into it. If they choose to go that route, there's no telling, but that's an idea that I'm looking at as to why it's going to be a way that it's a new, as they call it, an up-and-coming generation and an up-and-coming presentation for the Millennial eSports brand.
Yeah, they're just trying to maintain themselves like as the entertainment capital of the world. So that's just another way to be entertaining people.
Yep.
A lot of people out there playing games and things of that nature. So
yeah, because I know you are. I know. I'm personally I'm the Call of Duty random. I play Gears of War. I know you usually do Madden and a lot of 2K. So
yeah,
I mean, if it's a good 2K tournament on TV and I'm watching it, if it was at the Millennial eSports Arena, I would definitely be willing to check it out. So that was my little bit of gaming talk. I have more gaming talk I'm going to do later. It's a segment that I'm adding in. I won't talk about that yet, but I'll save that for that point. So we'll kind of now break down, as I like to call it, bubbles bursting, dances happening, teams trying to fight for spots and see where they may stand when it comes to different tournaments. I'm going to kind of coast through these a little bit because I know there are so many that have happened, but I want to make sure I don't leave anything behind. Currently, we have quite a few automatic bids that have happened. The Bucknell Bison have won the Patriot League. South Dakota State Jackrabbits won the Summit League. Gonzaga thankfully won the West Coast Conference despite them having a single loss. Still a good chance they'll hold the number 1 seed. We'll get into that a little bit later. The North Kentucky Norse won the Horizon League. Mount St. Mary's got the Northeast Conference Championship locked up. Iona got the MAAC because I don't want to get them confused. Metro Atlantic, UNC Wilmington, VCU's old stomping grounds. UNC Wilmington was able to win the CAA tournament. East Tennessee got Southern Conference, and Florida Gulf Coast will be back again since they won the Atlantic Sun Conference. Look forward to seeing if they'll make another run again. As always, Wichita State showing up. That's going to be a good blend into another topic we'll get into later. Winning the Missouri Valley Conference, Winthrop taking over the Big South. I feel like it's way more than I expected. And Jacksonville finally getting the Ohio Valley. Now there are more tournaments that are going on now that are going to be finishing up, if not already finished. So those stories will be kind of blending in. It'll more than likely be us giving picks of prospects of how the tournament goes because I'm expected to generate tournament pools since literally you have today with a lot of your tournaments capping off. I think ACC finishes today.
Couple finish tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, they finish today or tomorrow.
Yeah, Big East is capping off today. Big Sky.
SEC finishes off tomorrow.
Yep, ACC's tomorrow. Big 12 is today. Big West is today. Let me make sure I'm not missing. Conference USA is going to be today. The Atlantic 10 will be tomorrow. Hopefully VCU can. I haven't really been eyeballing it too heavily. But hopefully they'll finish theirs out. Conference USA is today. I'm jumping into all these just so I can point it out that there are going to be a lot of tournaments going on to finish out who's going to be winning the conference tournament. Yeah, because so this is kind of an education, and Dimitri knows this already. If you win for the season, you'll get the bid on that in that factor. But your other way of getting a bid or getting a higher seed of a lock is if you win your tournament when it comes down to your conference tournament. Winning regular season conference, that's great and that's cool, but
it won't automatically get you in.
Exactly.
Except unless, if you're in a major conference, that most likely will automatically get you in.
Yeah.
But if you're in, a mid-major conference or something like that, winning your regular season conference isn't really going to do much for you unless you played a lot of out-of-conference, good games. Yeah. But generally, they don't win those games.
Right. And what I'm looking to do next week, because I know it's going to be very packed to do, is probably some of the games will already have been going on, but I'm going to get into some of, the bubble teams, the teams who could have made it, teams that made it, that it's kind of like, wow, they made it, I'm surprised, things of that sort. So we'll have that going on. My link isn't loading up, but I already can kind of improv this one. Dennis Smith, we have, matter of fact, this will kind of be the declaring stage of the podcast. A couple of freshmen have already declared because their teams didn't do too well.
Yeah, you can only declare once your team's actually officially not playing anymore, and their team's officially not playing anymore. Right. Also, Markel Fultz's team isn't playing anymore. Markel
Fultz, that was the other one I was going to mention. Dennis Smith is projected as top 3.
Top 3, top 5.
Top 3, top 5. Markel Fultz, of course, is number 1. Projected number 1,
depending on Lonzo Ball.
Yeah. So this is kind of going to be a little bit of a chip to kind of jump into, because I know I mentioned I got the Cinderella stories and the Dirk story, and I'll get those too. But the college thing I want to kind of mix and match a little bit with, because do you feel as though when you're put in that position of being a top seed, not a top seed, but a top pick, that it places high expectations on you, especially with you being a Laker fan and seeing, and I'm not saying it from, okay, y'all lost, so y'all got top players, but when guys come to your team and they're a lottery pick, does it mean you're expecting a good thing when they come into the league, or?
I feel generally, yeah, I'm actually a realistic fan, so I don't expect you to come into the league and drop 25 a game. Mm-hmm. I expect you to come in. You're gonna have your rookie struggles. Yeah, but I expect to see like some flashes to show like maybe you have potential. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, there is a lot of pressure on the players. I feel like they feel like they have pressure on themselves as well too. Right, which is why it's good to get players who don't feel the pressure, who don't like feed into that nonsense, because again, it is your rookie season. Yes, nobody expects you to be a Hall of Famer in your rookie season.
Yeah, that's true.
So it depends on the player and the place you go to. Also, like if you go to the Lakers, there's more pressure on you than if you go to like the Sixers or like the Kings. Exactly.
Yeah. we always go back to the Kings because it's like we actually, and this is kind of like off topic because we'll make this kind of just an improv conversation. We were talking about the Kings, and we talked about this on numerous occasions. The Kings have not really been the best when it comes to drafting or when it comes to placement of drafts or how to handle draft picks,
to say the least.
Yeah. So, because I look at it like this, for instance, DeMarcus Cousins was a big pickup at the time when they got him. For whatever reason, after him, I don't know what happened. I mean, between Ben McLemore, Willie Cauley-Stein,
Nick Stauskas,
yeah, like it's been guys that I just don't get what it was. I get it, you're trying to get somebody because it's with drafts, and like I said, this is improv talk, so it'll be added somehow. I'll put a tab or information about it. When you're looking at drafting, and they always talk about this with drafts are based on need and based on best available. You would agree with that, or do you like that?
That's what it's supposed to be. If you want to be a successful team,
right?
But with the Kings, they kind of go away from that. Like
they just pick somebody and say, well, "Let's hope it works."
Yeah, last year in their draft, because they already had Willie Cauley-Stein, they had DeMarcus Cousins on their team going into the draft. Yeah, and then they picked up a guy from Greece who's about 7'2". I can't even pronounce his name.
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
And it was like, why are you picking him up? And that's what even DeMarcus Cousins like tweeted about. Yeah. But DeMarcus Cousins isn't there anymore. And I don't even think I've seen that guy play once. Yeah. So it was kind of a terrible pick to pick up like number 12 in the draft, I believe it was. Right. So yeah, I don't see them going anywhere anytime soon. But they do have 2 projected top 10 picks. Yeah, with the trade, since they did trade away, since Cousins went, they got those from New Orleans. So that was a big pickup. All right, so I'll let you. This is where I get to use my term of my title. I will let you. This is where I'm passing it over to you as to what you would like to do. We can either go on a Dirk and Russell tangent. We can do the soccer tangent. It's on you. I'm gonna let you. Let's go soccer.
All right, we'll go soccer. So all right, so soccer is me taking over a little bit, and I'm gonna kind of be giving Dimitri a little bit of knowledge on it because he probably has watched. What I have shared as a link is the current standings of one of the top soccer leagues in world soccer, and that is known as, it used to be the Barclays Premier League. Now it's just called the Premier League, and I think that was more for branding purposes and business purposes. They wanted to rebrand, so they decided to take out Barclays, just keep the Lion, and do the Premier League. Most people who know me, guilty as charged. I'm a diehard Chelsea fan, been a fan for about 3 years. I got into Chelsea, believe it or not, because of Samsung. That was their brand at the time, and it kind of just stuck with me. But basically, this is the league that a lot of soccer players thrive to get to. There are a lot of big names, and I'll throw some names out there. These will probably be people you may have heard of, and these will be people that I'm used to watching. Drogba, Zlatan, Diego Costa. It's quite a few names. Mehmet Ozil. Ozil plays for Arsenal. I'll get into that in a minute. These are players who have played for like other leagues, non-English Premier League, and have come over to the Premier League and say, "Hey, this is where this is a chance for me to kind of establish myself, get myself going, and either call this home or make a move and go somewhere else." For instance, with Man City, Manchester City currently is ranked 3rd. Man City has Yaya Toure. I'm not sure. I'm wanting to say he's still on the team. I haven't been keeping up with Man City. I got a Man City friend that I'm gonna pick his brain soon with doing this topic because I know he's been dying to talk soccer with me on this. But Man City was a couple of years ago was premier champion. They've kind of been close, but not as close. And so they kind of give you now. Do you know this? Now you know the scoring. Of course, you score goals, you get points. But you know the scoring system as far as wins and losses.
I do not.
Okay. So how it works is your wins and your losses are important solely for placement on the board. So the teams that you're looking at, as far as their ranking, is based on point system. Mm-hmm. The more points you have, you want to be like top in points. You get 3 points for a win. You get 0 points for a loss, and you get 1 point for a draw. So you obviously would prefer to win more games, and this is a true story of why. This is and I'm sharing it in this regard for a reason. Chelsea had a 12 or 13 point lead a few weeks ago. As you can see, as of right now, it's a 10-point lead solely because they've drew a few games, and other teams have kind of crept up the ladder as the season goes along. Season ends, I want to say, late April.
And in this league, isn't it where like if you finish in the bottom 3, you're out of the league?
So how it works? Yeah, that's the other factor. So if you look at on the listing, and like I said, I'll have the link for the league showing. Top 4 is a big deal because it'll be based on, obviously, if you're number 1, you win the Premier League or you win the Cup. Top 4 can kind of give you a spot in other tournaments that come up during the season, such as UEFA Champions League, FA Cup, things of that sort. And like you said, the bottom 3 teams always go into what they call relegation. Relegation basically means you are removed from this league, put into another league to kind of fight for your way to get back into the Premier League. And then those teams who are the top 3 in that lower league bump up to Premier League. So okay. That's kind of like my I call it my 2%, and
it's like you earning your way into the big leagues.
Exactly. And they actually on the page that I sent everyone, if you go to at the top of the page it says first team. So those are your main Division 1. Those are your Premier League teams. When you click on PL2 then takes you to those teams who have been relegated or are in the second division of the Premier League. So the top 3 teams in the division go up to the go up to the main to Division 1. So as of right now, Swansea City, Fulham, and Wolverhampton have the highest chance of going to D1, but it can change at any time because Newcastle is tied with them right now. So I just want to share that. I call that my 2% stint, but I wanted to at least get that in the mix as far as that goes. Score update since you watching the game.
54-58, 7 minutes left.
All right, yeah. So let's see, 7 minutes, and then knowing how their games go, it can be probably longer than that.
Yeah.
But got a good halfway point. So what we'll do now is, since it's a bit of history, I wanted to go ahead and give credit where it was due in saying congratulations to Dirk Nowitzki joining the likes of MJ, Kareem, Malone,
Wilt, and
Kobe as the. I want to make sure I got all the names in there because I was like,
he's the sixth one to enter that category of 30,000 points.
Yes, the 30K club. He scored. He only needed 20 points going into the game. He played against, oddly enough, LA to reach that mark. And I'm saying oddly only because they showed. I'm not sure it was I'm trying to think of what point it was at that time. But he scored a bucket, and it was against Lamar Odom. And his 30,000 point was against Larry Nance. And they both wore number 7.
Yeah.
So it was just like a coincidence that they shared that as being a big thing. So we had this conversation earlier. So this is kind of going to be our little sidebar conversation, because this is what I want this podcast to be about. I don't want it to be like information and facts. Yes, no problem. I'm never going to debate a fact or go against you on any of that. But then this is what we kind of talked about off mic. So now we'll talk about it now. Would you make Dirk a first ballot Hall of Famer?
Oh yeah, definitely first ballot Hall of Famer.
Okay.
I'd say he's also like top 10 in his position,
Okay.
the power forward position. I wouldn't know exactly where to rank him like all time.
Yeah.
Maybe like top. I don't know. It's hard to go there because then you start thinking about who you have to move out the way.
Right.
Because he is kind of undervalued, you could say.
Mm-hmm.
But he's also revolutionized the forward position.
Very valid. I will definitely give you that. I think what's unfair for him is it's the power forward position, and we, like I said, again, we talked about this, so this is just us sharing this with the group. Dirk did what Garnett and Tim Duncan did in his own way, meaning he reinvented the power forward position because you didn't have power forwards that could shoot jumpers.
Shoot threes.
Yeah, exactly. Like my moments, and you probably know these moments just as well as I do, that when Dirk and Steve Nash was playing together, and you would have Dirk being the last player running down the court, Steve Nash would just be dribbling the ball, and he'll throw it to him like he'll be coming next to him, striding into a 3-point shot, and it was literally nothing but it was easily nothing but net. It was just a natural thing to him. His fadeaway game was different.
He created his own shot. Like people copy it today. Like Durant copies it.
Right.
His off one hand, like knee up.
Yeah, the 1 foot.
Fade away.
Mm-hmm.
And he also never played with the Hall of Famer when they were in their prime.
Right.
Like he played with Steve Nash early in Steve Nash's career, early in his career. Then he played with Jason Kidd late in his carear.
Right.
Never really played with somebody who was like who was in their prime.
Not even Sean Murray. I'm just kidding. I had to see if he was awake. I had to message you on that one. I figured that Sean Murray wanted to be a wild card, but I know he's far from it. I see him being a Hall of Famer. It's going to be a while, but that's another story. But yeah, you're right. As far as I agree, Hall of Fame wise, he's kind of not caught. He's not caught what you define in their prime Hall of Famers. He's caught them kind of in the midst of or trying to establish themselves. Like Nash, and I'm saying this, and it's never me. I always give my disclaimers. All right, hold on. If y'all hear this in the background, sorry. It just came in my ear. Okay, sorry. That just threw me all the way off. It's probably going to keep playing, but anyway, I can close this tab because I don't need it. Dirk, I'm sorry. This is my point. That just threw me everything. You didn't hear it, so you lucky. Steve Nash. Steve Nash was a player that was the true definition of a player you had to get away from the game because he was trying to stay as long as he could until he realized it was just time.
Yeah, because he had injuries and things of that nature.
Yeah.
And also, I think another thing that discredits Dirk is how he was the 1 seed back when he was the MVP of the league,
right?
And then lost to the 8 seed in the first round of the playoffs,
right?
And other things of that nature, and also if you think about his finals run, we talked about this earlier. When they won the finals, he had a great playoffs, that whole playoffs. Yeah. But then the finals is mostly remembered for LeBron choking more than Dirk showing up and actually putting in work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they took a lot of credit from him for what he actually did. At that time. But yeah, I wouldn't argue with you on that whatsoever. I think Dirk had a good core around. I mean, he had a good core of what you define as key role players, not MVP. So I mean, he made it was kind of like he made them great just as well as them making him kind of be a big factor in the game. So props to Dirk making the 30K club. It's not much left. If he may have a year or two left, but we're gonna enjoy these last few off footers and a little bit of game he can either play or share with other players. So now we're gonna get to a good story, but a loss in the story, I guess. Westbrook was able to score a career high 58 points. Now they lost the game, but I'm bringing this up solely because, and I'll give the numbers of it to kind of put it into perspective. 21 of 39 from the field, so that's over. You shot over 50%. 13 for 16 on free throws, and first half he scored 28. Before that, his career highs had been 55 against LA. I'm sorry, wait. Westbrook was the first guard to score at least 55 points and lose since Kobe on December of '06. And his previous career high was against Indiana in April of 2015 when he had 54. I'm telling, and I guess this is the share. I'm sharing this story solely because he made a mark, and he's been kind of just making a tear with getting the triple doubles, even though they're like maybe a 7 or 8 seed, and they're trying to fight to keep their position alive.
Yeah, he sometimes I heard something the other day about someone saying like I think it was Charles Barkley who said that he thinks that Russell Westbrook plays for stats,
right?
Which Russell Westbrook plays hard every single play,
yeah.
But you can kind of see it also too. I kind of agree with that. He kind of does play for stats,
yeah.
Because I saw another stat out show like he gets the most rebounds without anybody else. Most uncontested rebounds.
Uncontested rebounds.
It's like 8 uncontested rebounds a game.
Right.
Things of that nature.
Yeah.
And I saw another stat like shows that their team has a better winning percentage when he scores between like 20 and 24 points.
Right.
Than any other point total. So sometimes he does do a little bit too much.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like he has other talented players on his team, but some of them can't create shots for themselves.
Okay.
Which makes it a little bit rougher for them.
Yeah. But
he's having a great season. Would you consider him your MVP at this time, or who would you say?
So I have to be unbiased because I can't give it to. No, I can't be unbiased. I got to be honest. I'm still right now. I'm on the Harden bandwagon. I'm on the Harden Houston. I feel like Harden's having a better year this year.
Well, in this one, since you are biased, since you like the Rockets, I'm definitely unbiased because nobody in the Lakers is in that category,
right?
But I agree with you though. I agree. I would like Harden for MVP at this moment because he's leading his team to the third record, not just in the West but overall in the league.
Yeah,
third best record. He's averaging around 28 points and like 11 assists. He's right. So he's doing his thing over there.
Westbrook would have it if he played, like if he knew how to use his team without it looking like I'm aggressively getting assists. Like you can get players involved. Like okay, and all right, here's why I'm saying Harden, and a lot of people don't know this. The last couple of seasons, James Harden has been the 2 guard. Cool, no problem. James Harden this season was put in the position of, okay, we're going to make you point guard. A lot of people had questions about this when it first came up, and I remember even myself being like, James Harden at point guard, how is this going to work? But what they did was, number one, Dwight Howard was gone, so that gave more space on the floor. Mm-hmm. Number 2, you had Capella, their center. You had their center who was kind of showing up. Eric Gordon was able to come in and be more of a guard as well as a bench player. Ryan Anderson, you had a lot of guys who could come in and play their role a lot better. And then Patrick Beverley was sketchy this whole season. So it was perfect to just say, all right, Harden, you got the reins. This your thing. Do what you want to do. So Harden basically went in and was like, okay, I'm going to do what I do. And Harden has been able to get his scoring part of it done as well as getting players involved. And it still worked out pretty good. His turnover still is going to be aggressive because that's a given being a point guard.
Yeah, and if you look at the turnovers overall in the league, it's up there in like the top 5 for most turnovers in the league is Harden, right. Westbrook, and LeBron's also up there as well too.
Exactly.
But you have to think about it; they held the ball the most on their team. So
they're ball dominant players.
So it's a given that they're going to get turnovers. Mm-hmm. And if you look at it right now, he's averaging 29 points. You could say 11 assists. Westbrook is averaging 32 points and 10 assists. Mm-hmm. And about 10 boards as well, too.
Right.
I feel like some people want to just give him the MVP because he is averaging a triple-double. But Oscar Robertson had average a triple-double. He didn't win MVP his season. Yeah. I feel like it should go to the player who made the most difference to his team.
Yeah.
If you look at the Rockets last year, they weren't as good of a team as they were this year. This year, they're actually a dominant team, and they can make it to the Western Conference Finals or the Finals, actually.
True.
So I'd give it to him. He's changed the team the most and made players around him better. So
I'll spin it. So I'll pass it back to you. Going with the theme of the podcast. Do you feel if you took Westbrook? All right. Matter of fact, this is a 2-part question. If you took Westbrook and Harden away from their respective teams, which team would be better?
That's a tough one because they both. If you look at the rest of the team, for both of them, they don't have anybody who can create shots for one another.
True.
Well, I think like if that were to happen, they wouldn't. The Thunder wouldn't have traded Cameron Payne.
Yes.
Like at the trade deadline.
True.
And so he could have been pretty. I feel like he could have been pretty well. Yeah, pretty helpful for them.
Mm-hmm.
I feel. I like the Thunder's roster better than the
Rockets
roster.
No,
without
that's
if
fair.
you pull them both off.
Yeah.
I like the Thunder's roster better. I feel like they have more talent.
Okay. And I would definitely say, because I mean, Houston, the biggest pickup they did, as far as the talking about trades, you got Lou Williams coming in. So that was, I mean, Lou Williams would have been forced to have to be more. He would have got more. His minutes would have increased solely because, you got Patrick Beverley, but Beverley just was a pest more than he was a factor on the floor.
Yeah.
So my second part of that question, and then I got a couple more, and we got a decent amount of time, about 10 minutes left on this week's episode, which is a phenomenal podcast. But if you took those two guards and switched them, who would be a better team?
Would be a better team.
Mm-hmm. Do you think Houston would still be third?
I don't think Houston would be third, but I still think that they may have a better record just because there's shooters on that team. Mm-hmm. They have better shooters than the Thunder.
Yeah, Thunder's not yet. I think that was why they made the trade for McDermott, because they needed a shooter. And I mean, it's crazy because I look at it, going back, Jimmer Fredette was like the guy that was like, Mr. Basketball. He's gonna be the shooter. He's gonna be the man. Fredette got to the NBA, he couldn't hold his own. But then for whatever reason, McDermott came in, and McDermott was the same way. McDermott was a shooter, but McDermott was actually a scorer as well.
He's crafty.
Right.
But also, with the Thunder, it's kind of hard to tell how they would play with Harden. Because Westbrook, the way that Westbrook plays, it kind of makes everybody else kind of stand around.
Yeah.
With Harden, it's more of a flow.
You got to move.
There's more of a flow to it.
True.
With Westbrook, they're more like just standing around. You just kick it to somebody, and he has to shoot it, even if there's a hand in his face, just so he can get the assist, kind of.
Yeah, that's true.
So it'd be kind of a different flow for the game as well, too.
That's valid.
So, yeah.
All right. So that was a fun little tangent of sporting stories. So I have, I got one other sports story, and then I have what I've called my theme of the podcast, which is called the Ass of the Week, and I'm using that term lightly, and I'm going to make sure it's in the disclaimer that it's quote unquote explicit content, but not really. But we'll get to that in a moment. I have a list of the top 25 teams that were known as Cinderella stories. Now, of course, we can't really project Cinderella stories on the current bracket since Selection Sunday is tomorrow. But I got a list of different teams. The first team I look at that was the quickest that caught my attention was Florida Gulf Coast, because they surprised me. They definitely surprised me being able to go to as far as they did. I think between Florida Gulf Coast, George Washington that year when they had a pretty good run. Because if it wasn't for that run for Larinaga, he wouldn't be. I think Larinaga was gone not too long after that. And of course, hometown VCU did that thing too. And I forgot. I'm looking at it now with Davidson being top 8.
Oh, Stephen Curry's year.
Yeah, Steph's year. Steph having that breakout season that year helped him the following year learn who he was as a player, because he ended up then getting developed into being learning the point guard role.
Yeah, he came back under the year to play point guard.
Exactly. So, I shared that story. Yes, yeah, VCU was number 5, so I saw that. I figured they would be pretty high. That was the Shock of Smart days. I figured they would have Villanova. That was an obvious one. NC State always. If you know about the NC State story, when NC State played against Houston in the championship, that was such a big story, because they were literally not expected to be if you had Hakeem Olajuwon and Clyde the Glide on the same team. They always share that story consistently during the March Madness. But this story was just kind of an add-in of talking about, just kind of giving a retro feel of just college hoops back in the day. And I guess this is kind of the question, my random question and answer part, and then I'll jump on my last random story that I really didn't want to. I know we mentioned we were going to do the Lakers story. I think I'm going to just make the Lakers story its own, because I feel like we're going to just kick off with that. Because the bus story, I definitely want to give this attention to. Do you feel there will be any major Cinderella stories this year, or will it kind of be is it more likely to be chalk?
No, I feel like every year there's always a team that goes not as far, but goes like, pretty far, maybe Sweet 16. I feel like there's at least going to be at least one team that shocks and goes to the Sweet 16.
Right.
I feel like there may be a team that's not. I feel like Cinderella story is like everybody outside the top 7, like 7 or higher, you could say.
Right.
I feel Michigan's been playing good in the Big Ten tournament. I feel like they may make a run in the actual tournament.
As long as they're out of Kentucky the next round.
If they don't have Kentucky, they're a tough team because they have shooters.
Yeah.
So I feel like they'd be a tough team to get out, but that'd just be my prediction. I'd have to see the bracket to be able to see, who I predict, but I feel like they will. How about you?
I feel like it's possible. I mean, I'm looking forward. I need to see where Wichita State ranks, and I always like to keep an eye on them because they're always.
Do you think there'll be a team like I believe it's happened the last couple of years where there've been like a 15 seed that knocked off a 2 seed in the first round or something like that?
I feel like a 15 can knock a 2. I don't see any ones knocking off 16s. You mean 16 knocking off ones. I don't see that.
I don't know if that's happened before.
It's happened.
It has happened?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very, 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 very rare. But it has happened. I just had the list, but we'll break those down and talk about a little bit of it later. But yeah, I mean, it's up in the air. I was going to do.
Out of the projected 2 seeds, it's like Baylor, Oregon,
Kentucky,
Louisville. Which one do you think seed that could lose in the first round?
Baylor.
You think Baylor?
I would say Baylor. Only because Baylor just doesn't. I don't know. It's just Baylor has been always question mark
on and off. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
No, I agree with that one.
With the Big 12. So I'm running into my rush crunch time, but I'm going. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and jump on the Ass of the Week. It's a 3-minute story, but it should be able to cover it pretty well. So, as you know, we talked about the Nintendo Switch briefly last week on our podcast. I'm sorry, I talked about it because I forgot I was here by myself. I believe I think we did talk about it. Yeah, we talked about it on ours. Okay,
the commercials look nice for it.
Right, the commercials are great. So there have been people who have posted a couple of videos and a couple of incidents of unsuccessful experiences with the Nintendo Switch. Now, a friend of mine is an avid Nintendo user, so he made sure I was clear in confirming this. You can't base something not working or working off of what you see with those type of videos. And he's 100% right. However, it's an interesting scenario because when you have not all kids or not all individuals are good with taking care of stuff. Like we both are like techie gurus on stuff. So it's like if I give you something, if I give you a CD, I'm expecting the CD to come back like I gave it to you. Mm-hmm. With the Nintendo Switch, the dock, a lot of people have been kind of forcing the screen into the dock incorrectly. It's been scratching their screens. People have been putting the Joy-Cons on incorrectly. And I'm kind of briefing this very, very simple. I'm giving them Ass of the Week solely because it was a mechanic fail on the company's part with making the Nintendo Switch. But I think they're going to work on this, and it's something that isn't going to like impact them like incredibly. But on my page, I do have, in the podcast, you will have it's a 12-minute video of people who have posted about their experiences with the Nintendo Switch. So
I feel like when a thing is new, they should kind of make it kind of dummy proof.
Mm-hmm.
You could say,
yeah,
that would possibly help out with some of these glitches that people have had.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's going to be fine. I got my last minute, so I'm going to kind of do a couple of closings and preps next week. So I'm giving Nintendo Switch Ass of the Week solely because of design and just folks not really taking care of their systems and stuff happening the way it is. But next week I'm going to let Dimitri be a little dominant with this one because I want him to get the LA stories in the mix. I'm going to have another artist for our weekly music, and we'll have quite a bit of sports stories because March Madness will be kicking off. So any closeouts you have in our last little bit before we roll out?
Nothing. Y'all just have a good weekend, good week.
I know that's right. Hopefully, y'all, if you haven't done so already, get your brackets prepped. And last note, because I want to make sure this goes up, turn your clocks forward, spring daylight savings time. And on that note, this is the Past Podcast signing out.
Out.